From your experience working in Swarajya and both, what advice would you give to aspiring youth storytellers who want to work at the intersection of journalism, advocacy, and nation building?
I think the aspirations are largely global. Now, in this audience, if you were to ask what they aspire to see India to be one day, you'll say that, we want real estate to be like New York, or you'll say that the roads have to be as good as Dubai. But these aspirations are simply not infatuations that it seemed almost impossible to achieve. Today, it is possible to achieve simply because younger people are getting a platform across the world. And today, the ideas are also more native in nature. For example, in Sri Lanka, there is a consciousness and there is an attempt to build a bridge between India and Sri Lanka, for that matter, when you talk about the Ramayana circuit and how it is being promoted. When people in India go to Colombo, they say that India is just a stone's throw away, but look at how clean the streets of Colombo is and how well behaved the people of Sri Lanka are. Essentially, what are you acquiring? You're also acquiring values, and these values do not have any boundaries. Essentially, that is what you're learning from different other communities today from across the world. Initially, only the few people had the privilege of traveling across the world. And how would you gain this knowledge and wisdom of what was to be what around the world? In the early days of the emperors and the kings, you had travelers, and the travelers used to write a lot of these travelogues. A Chinese traveler or somebody, an Arab merchant coming from Arabian Peninsula, used to write something about the Indian people, and how trade and commerce and life used to exist here. That is how you get to know the idea. Today, YouTubers are the travelers that existed 2000 years ago, because across the world, telling stories, bring as realistic picture as possible, while also keeping in mind that you need to create certain boundaries for yourself, because a decorum is required for global cooperation. The world is rapidly changing, is largely individually oriented. It was no longer between two different entities or nations or anything. It is almost impacting on an individual basis, where people look up to some other nation and say, hey, tomorrow why can't we be like a Singapore, where we aim for a 30,000 per capita income per year? Why do we have bad streets in some part of the world? And why can't we export our own values that we have inherited? The Indian subcontinent always had civilization 5,000, 6,000 years ago, and we had the Saraswati Sindhu civilization. We had textile industries in Kanpur. We had sports industries in Ludhiana. So in that sense, you look at the subcontinent and you look at the world in a lens which is free from the Westphalian boundary systems. We are largely still the same. The people still exist, the values still exist, and the cooperation still exists. But unfortunately, you live in a world where multilateralism is so strong that it creates certain boundaries. But I believe at an individual level, because young people are more exposed to global overtures, that these boundaries are overcome very easily today.